There are dishes famous for their expensive ingredients. There are dishes famous for their elaborate preparation. But there are also dishes that are almost nothing special. It's just a boiled egg, cut in half, mixed with mayonnaise, mustard, and a few familiar spices. Yet, for many generations, deviled eggs have always appeared at almost every party, holiday, and family gathering in America. What's even more interesting is that many Europeans, before tasting it, all think, "What's so appealing about this dish?" However, just after one bite, their reactions were almost identical.
America, today I am trying deviled eggs for the first time ever. That's good. That's really good.
Just to even it out. Yeah. I went the whole thing. That's actually really good. I told you.
What caught my attention was not that they praised the dish, but the moment they begin to understand that Americans love deviled eggs, not just for the taste. Behind that seemingly simple dish is a whole story about culture, memory, and how Americans connect with each other. And today, we will explore why such a small egg can create such a great attraction. There is one detail that I find extremely interesting when watching these series of videos. Most Europeans have a similar reaction. As soon as they see deviled eggs, they immediately ask, "What is this dish? I've never heard of it. It's just an egg?" Some people even laughed, thinking, "What's so special about a boiled egg that Americans are so crazy about?" And to be honest, if you have never encountered this dish, that reaction is completely understandable.
Americans keep telling me to try deviled eggs. Cheers!
Okay, we have had deviled eggs made the proper way for us. Right, I'm going to try it for the first time.
Just a bit of background. We have never ever... It's not a UK thing, a deviled egg, is it?
No, it's not at all. You don't get these in the UK.
I am starting to think...
Interestingly, Europeans are no strangers to eggs. Eggs are an ingredient that appears almost every day in meals in many European countries. They eat boiled eggs, fried eggs, omelets, eggs in cakes, in every possible way. So the problem has never been with the egg. What they are not used to is the idea of turning an egg into an appetizer that everyone looks forward to at every party. That's the first real difference.
Okay, America. At Thanksgiving, I tried something, and it blew my mind. And today, I've come across that same thing, but slightly different. I'll show you. I went to 7-Eleven and found a deviled egg.
In the US, deviled eggs are almost never considered a boiled egg. Americans see it in a very different way. This dish appears at weekend BBQs, family gatherings, Easter celebrations, birthday parties, outdoor picnics, or potlucks where everyone brings a dish to share. In other words, deviled eggs are not just food. It is a part of the atmosphere. That's why I really enjoy the reactions of some Europeans in the videos. At first, they looked at the plate of eggs with quite a suspicious gaze. Like, "Oh, is that all?" But the more I watched the Americans prepare, the more I noticed how carefully they mixed the filling, sprinkled paprika, added bacon, and decorated each half egg beautifully. Then their expressions began to change. This dish turns out to be more carefully prepared than they thought.
Are you actually kidding me? I've never had this in my life. Who told me? Deviled eggs were a thing. I've never heard of deviled eggs in my life. But look at this. We have deviled eggs. We're going to try it. Going in dry.
That's a very interesting aspect of American culinary culture. Americans have a very special ability. They turn extremely humble ingredients into iconic dishes. Just think about it. Potatoes can become mashed potatoes. Bread and cheese into grilled cheese. Peanuts become peanut butter. And a boiled egg becomes deviled eggs. Not because the ingredients are more expensive, but because of the way they tell a story through food. That's also why many people in the video say something similar. "I never thought eggs could look so beautiful." It sounds simple, but it truly reflects the difference in perspective. For many Europeans, eggs are a daily meal. For many American families, deviled eggs are a dish reserved for special occasions. And I think this is the most exciting moment. The participants have not tasted it yet, They have only looked, but they have started to realize that this is not a halved egg. Behind it lies a whole habit, a tradition, and a way for Americans to enjoy their gatherings. If you also thought deviled eggs were just eggs with mayonnaise like they did at first, hit like to see if that thought changes by the end. And if this is your first time visiting the channel, don't forget to subscribe, because we will discover many interesting things about America through such genuine reactions. But all of the things just mentioned are only the first impressions. What made almost all Europeans change their minds happened right after the first bite. And that's when the real story begins. What I like most about these reaction videos is people aren't surprised by the mayonnaise. Really. At first, almost everyone thought, oh, this dish probably just tastes like mayonnaise. But the more I watched the reactions of Europeans, the more I realized that what surprised them lay in a different aspect. Pay attention. Before eating, many people come up with all sorts of reasons to believe that they won't like this dish.
She's Californian. She is. For 15 years.
Trying a deviled egg for the first
Try
time.
it. It's so good.
Do you see their faces? Full of skepticism. Some people say, I don't like eggs. I don't eat mustard. I hate pickles. Relish? Not my cup of tea. After hearing that, all I could do was laugh. In my head, I thought, at this rate, deviled eggs are probably beyond saving. But then the first bite went into my mouth, and the reaction was almost identical.
I'd eat them. If nobody else eat them. Make sure they're good. This one was coming apart anyway.
I got myself a dozen deviled eggs with a lot of paprika. Let's see how many we can eat. 1, 2, okay, 3. This might be harder than I think. 4, 5. Slowing down here. Although when you think about it, 6 is halfway. 7, 8. Oh my God, I don't even want to do the math. If I have 8 deviled eggs, that means I've had 4 eggs. That's crazy. Number 9. Lucky number 9.
Yes, this woman even ate a dozen eggs. Some people even laughed at themselves. Just a few dozen seconds ago, they insisted they didn't like it, and a few dozen seconds later, they asked, are there any more? That's the interesting part. If you look at each ingredient individually, there's nothing special at all. A boiled egg, a little mayonnaise, mustard, paprika, sotdua. Add a few slices of bacon if you like. All are very familiar ingredients. Not rare, not expensive, and not a family secret either. But Americans have a way of combining things that makes the whole completely different. And I think this is the very interesting philosophy of American cuisine. They don't necessarily have to start with luxurious ingredients. They start with things anyone can find in the kitchen. Then find a way for each ingredient to highlight the others. Mayonnaise makes the filling softer and richer. Mustard adds a bit of sharpness. Paprika brings a light aroma and eye-catching color. Relish adds a perfectly balanced sweet and sour flavor. As for bacon, well, bacon almost makes any dish a little more enjoyable. That's why I really liked a reaction in the video. Someone said something like, I don't usually like pickles, but after eating deviled eggs, they nodded and said, wait, in this dish. It actually works. Sounds simple, but that's a very insightful observation. There are some ingredients that you would never choose when they stand alone. But when placed in the right position, the right ratio, the right formation, they become an indispensable piece of the puzzle. Just like a band. A guitar on its own might sound ordinary, a drum is the same. But when everyone plays in sync, you'll have a whole symphony. Deviled eggs also create that feeling. There is no star in this dish. It is the balance that surprises everyone. Perhaps that's why so many Europeans, after finishing their meal, don't say, I like mayonnaise, or I like mustard. They just said one very true thing. Why do all these things go together so well? In my opinion, that is the moment they start to understand why this dish has been able to exist for decades in American families. If by now you also find deviled eggs more interesting than when you first clicked on the video, don't forget to leave a like. That helps me know that you also enjoy perspectives where behind every dish is a whole story, and I will continue to create more content like this. But the even more interesting thing is that after understanding why the food is delicious, the Europeans discovered something even greater. Deviled eggs have never just been a recipe. It is a part of family gatherings, parties, and even American culture. That is also what we will explore in the next part. At this point, I think we have gone through a very interesting step. At first, many Europeans only saw deviled eggs as a dish. But the more I watch their reactions, the more I feel that what they are truly discovering is not the recipe, but the culture behind that dish. Pay attention to what they say after finishing the meal. This dish is perfect for bringing to a party. If there were a tray here, I could eat 7 of them. We should have made 20 instead. At first glance, they seem like just a few jokes. But actually, those sentences reveal something very interesting. No one talks about mayonnaise anymore. No one is debating whether to add relish anymore. They started talking about the party. That was the moment the perspective changed. For many Europeans in these videos, deviled eggs were initially just a new dish to try. But after just a few bites, they unconsciously placed the dish in a different context. They imagine a gathering, an outdoor BBQ, or a banquet where everyone chats while grabbing another piece. That's also when I suddenly realized something. There are dishes that are made to fill you up. But there are also dishes created for people to sit down together, and deviled eggs clearly belong to the second group. If you've ever had the chance to see family gatherings in the US, you will see this image appearing quite often. A large tray with dozens of halved eggs neatly arranged on the table. Not 6 pieces. It's not even 8 pieces. But it could be 20, 30, even 40, 50 half eggs. The first time they hear it, many people will think, Americans really eat a lot. But actually, that's not the meaning of this dish. They make so much not for one person to eat at all, but so that anyone passing by can take a piece. No need for a knife, no need for a fork, no need to divide. Just pick it up, take a bite, and continue the unfinished story. It is this convenience that makes deviled eggs almost a starter for many gatherings. I really like a detail in the reaction videos. Someone was eating and laughing, then said, "If you bring this dish to a party, everyone will surely love it." That was a very natural comment. But that very statement also shows that they no longer see deviled eggs as just a recipe. They began to see it the way many American families have for generations. A dish to share, a dish to take away, a dish that makes everyone stand around the table for a few more minutes, say a few more words, and laugh a few more times. Perhaps that's why each American family has its own unique recipe. Some families like to add bacon, some families like relish, some households just sprinkle paprika. No one is too concerned about which recipe is the best, because what matters more is that the dish always appears on occasions when everyone gathers together. And I think this is the reason why so many Europeans, after trying it, say, "I will make this dish for the next party." They don't just want to eat it again, they want to share it with others. In my opinion, that is the most beautiful moment in all these reaction videos. A dish has fulfilled its mission when it makes people think immediately of family, friends, and gatherings, not just the taste. But the big question still lies ahead. If the ingredients are all very familiar and the method is not too complicated, then why do so many Europeans exclaim, "Why is this dish so delicious?" What happens in the moment they first bite into deviled eggs? We will decode that together in the next part. This is probably my favorite moment in all of these reaction videos, because almost everyone has the same reaction. Before eating, they were quite confident, but just a few seconds later, the camera captured a very interesting expression. Eyes widened a bit more, paused for a few seconds, then burst into laughter. I don't understand why it's so delicious. This shouldn't have worked, right? I think this is not them acting. But that's a very natural reaction when the brain receives an experience completely different from what it just predicted. Actually, our brains always evaluate food by sight first. If a dish looks too appetizing, the brain will automatically expect it to be delicious. On the contrary, if the dish looks too simple, expectations also decrease. And deviled eggs fall right into the second case. From the outside, it looks just like half a boiled egg. No crispy golden shell, no stretchy cheese, no smoky grilled meat. There are no overly vibrant colors. Even if placed next to a hamburger or a steak, deviled eggs hardly attract any attention. However, because the initial expectations are low, the surprise is even greater when you take the first bite. At this moment, what happens is not due to a single ingredient, but rather, they all appeared almost simultaneously. First is the creamy richness of the egg yolk blended with mayonnaise. Immediately after that, a hint of mustard adds a touch that prevents the overall dish from being too rich. If there is relish, the sweet and sour taste appears quickly and then disappears, making each bite fresher. Paprika brings a light aroma. As for bacon, if added, it creates a bit of crunch and a very recognizable smoky flavor. No flavor completely overpowers the others. They take turns appearing. That's also the reason why many people in the video don't know how to explain it other than saying, "I don't understand why it's delicious." Actually, what they are experiencing is the combination of multiple layers of flavors in a single bite. Chefs often refer to it as layering flavors. It sounds technical, but simply put, it's like listening to a piece of music with many instruments. If there were only drums or only guitar, it would be quite monotonous. But when all the sounds blend together at the right moment, the music becomes much fuller and more captivating. Deviled eggs also brings that feeling. The interesting thing is that each person pays attention to a different detail. Some people said they liked the taste of smoked paprika. Some people were surprised that the relish was better than expected. Some people who don't usually eat eggs actually like the smooth filling. That shows there isn't a single star ingredient that makes this dish. It is the balance between the ingredients that makes many people change their minds. And I noticed a rather interesting detail. After the first bite, almost no one said, "This is just an egg." Instead, they started asking, "How is this recipe made?" Or, "Next time, I'll add bacon." Just a small change in the way the question is asked is enough to show that they have shifted from skepticism to curiosity. In my opinion, that is the greatest strength of deviled eggs. It doesn't try to impress with its appearance. It conquers the eater with the experience after the first bite. And if you find it interesting so far, please hit like to support the channel. And if this is your first time watching the video, don't forget to subscribe, because we have many more interesting stories about American culture to share through seemingly ordinary things. But there is still one final question. After understanding why deviled eggs are delicious and why they are associated with gatherings, what makes so many Europeans decide, "I will make this dish at home"? That's when they truly understand why Americans love deviled eggs so much. And then I realized something very interesting. If you watch all the reaction videos to the end, you'll see that almost no one concludes with the phrase, "Now I have memorized the recipe." Instead, they say things like, "Next time, I will make this dish. I will bring it to the party. This is my new favorite dish." It sounds like it's just a few words different, but in reality, those are two completely different ways of thinking. A person can learn a recipe and then forget it after a few days. But when they say, "I want to make this dish for my family," the food takes on a different meaning. It is no longer an experience. It has become a part of their lives. I think that's the biggest victory of deviled eggs. It's not about making someone say it's delicious, but making them want to take that dish home. That's something I've seen repeated in many videos. At first, Europeans approached deviled eggs out of curiosity, but when it was over, they were already talking about next time. They think about making it for friends, for family, for the weekend party. And in my opinion, that is the clearest sign that a dish has truly touched the person enjoying it. This has also happened with many other American dishes: mac and cheese, mantequilla de maní, banh mi ngô, or Southern-style biscuits. At first, many foreigners just wanted to try it out of curiosity. But then, they start to wonder, can I buy the ingredients where I live? Can I make this dish at home? That moment was very lovely, because it shows that the gap between the two cultures is gradually narrowing. I'm just through a meal. I also really like the way Americans introduce dishes like that. They rarely say, "This is the best dish in the world." They also don't try to prove that their dish is more complex or elaborate than others. They simply say, "This is the dish my family always makes. This is my mother's recipe. This is a dish that is indispensable during the holidays." Then they invite you to taste it. The rest, let the food speak for itself. In my opinion, that is a very beautiful aspect of American culinary culture. No need for too much introduction. no need for grand promotional campaigns. Sometimes, all it takes is a plate placed in the middle of the table, and people help themselves to a piece. And then the story begins. If we look at it from a broader perspective, this is also a very unique form of cultural diffusion. Not through movies, not through music, not through famous symbols, but through very simple things. A cake, a jar of peanut butter, a bowl of mac and cheese, or half a boiled egg stuffed with filling. It sounds really simple, but it is precisely those simple things that easily create the most empathy. Because in the end, whether living in the US, the UK, Sweden, or anywhere else, most of us share the same feeling. It is the joy of sitting around the dining table with the people you love. Perhaps that's why, after seeing a series of reactions from Europeans, I no longer see deviled eggs as just an appetizer. It's like an invitation to sit down together. Let's chat together. Let's share together. And sometimes, just a small dish like that is enough to start a memorable meeting. If you also enjoy stories about culture told through simple dishes like this, please give the video a like and subscribe. That not only helps the channel grow, but also lets me know that you want to continue exploring America from close, everyday perspectives that are full of meaning. And after all the reactions, the laughter, and the exclamations of, "Why is this dish so delicious?" perhaps we have the answer to the title of the video. Europeans finally not only understand why Americans love deviled eggs, but also understand that sometimes what makes a dish special is not in the recipe, but in the memories and the people always present around that dining table. And what about you? If you had to introduce an American dish to someone who has never been to the United States, would you choose deviled eggs? Or would it be another dish? Please share your opinions in the comments section. I would love to read and discuss with everyone. If you enjoy reaction videos combined with cultural analysis like this, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss the next videos. Your support is a great motivation for me to continue creating higher quality content. Please note, this video is made for entertainment purposes, sharing perspectives, and exploring culinary culture through public reaction videos. The comments in the video only reflect the perspectives of the participants and the channel's analysis, and are not intended to assert that this is the experience of everyone, or to represent any country or culture. Thank you for staying with us until the end of the video. See you in the next video.